Hey, Matt. All right, awesome. People are starting to log in. We've got people from Italy here,
Wow.
Marie from Santa Clara, Matt from Seattle. Nice.
Sunny Seattle.
Argentina. Yeah. It's sunnier than Dallas today. We've just had nonstop rain. So awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today if you're watching, but also thank you to Marie and Matt for being a part of this webinar. We are super excited to have you guys today. So I know we're kind of going to be exploring a lot about artificial intelligence. Super hot topic, also kind of a confusing topic that I think there can be like a lot of misconceptions around. People aren't totally sure how to use it, how sales is going to evolve with it. So we're going to be talking about how sales is going to adapt to AI adoption, what AI is actually going to take over. Like, is it coming for all of our jobs? Is it just going to be like automating tasks? For sales reps or for sales teams. So if you are watching and you have questions about AI, the future of sales, how tech as a whole is evolving, please put them in the chat because I know Matt and Marie would absolutely love to answer them for you. So I will kind of pass the mic in a second so we can all introduce ourselves. But my name is Adriana. I'm the community manager here at RevGenius. Marie is joining us from Unifor and Matt is joining us from Regi AI. So I'll let you guys tell us a little bit more about your companies.
Sure, Matt, do you want to...
You go first, Marie.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name is Marie Brunet. I'm the VP of Sales for the Video AI Business Unit at Unifor. Unifor being the leader in conversational intelligence. I come from Facebook, Meta now, where I have launched a metaverse for enterprise application. And I jumped on the AI curve more than a year ago because I did think already then that AI was the future for sales. I'll pass it on to you, Matt.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Matt Millen. I am the co-founder of Regi.ai. We are solving the problem of driving higher engagement through sales messaging and helping reps personalize at scale in seconds, not minutes or longer. A little bit about me. I've been selling since 1987. So I started selling before there were corporate email, before the internet. I've had a front row seat to the infusion of technology into the selling process. And over the years, I've seen the problems that the technology has solved, and I've also seen the problems that new technology creates. And we're at a really interesting point right now where there's some really exciting technology that's solving problems for us, and it's also having us ask really tough questions. So really excited for the conversation today.
Awesome. So kind of going back to the possible problems that AI is creating, I would really love to hear from you both. Like, where do you kind of see like AI going, specifically in the sales department? And kind of what problems do you think are going to come out of that?
Do you want to go first, Marie?
Sure, happy to. I think it's a super exciting time to be in sales, especially B2B sales, because of AI. I think we're just starting to scratch the surface of what AI can do for us in terms of so many aspects, right? Like, I'll let Matt talk about how AI can help with content. We ourselves at Unifor leverage AI to help with emotional intelligence. There are like so many tasks AI can help automate to make sellers' life easier. It's just a question of remaining ethical, remaining efficient, and leverage technology to our best advantage. I think, as you touched base earlier, the introduction of new technology always brings some nervousness and fear, like, will this new technology replace my job? Which is a fair question. A few days ago, I don't know if you saw this article from the New York Times, which I think described perfectly the introduction of AI in general. It's an English school teacher who leverages ChatGPT versus the New York public school system, which banned the use of ChatGPT for the students. So you have like one side is like, no, let's ban everything, let's fight the change, which I don't think is very realistic. How you're gonna prevent students, teenagers to not go online is one thing, right? We parents know how difficult that is. The other side is these English school teachers like, okay, let me leverage this technology to make my students smarter. So like she pushes her student to see like what essay is the most convincing, what English techniques through ChatGPT can use the most powerful metaphor. She really pushes them to analyze English in depth, which I think is the best way to embrace new technology. AI for seller is exactly the same thing. We have so many applications that are being developed to make our life easier, to be smarter, because it is a challenging job. And we all know it's becoming more and more challenging. So the only way we can continue to do more with less is by leveraging AI to our advantage. Matt, what do you think?
A couple of things. The last time there's been such a revolution in our industry is when the PCs rolled out back in the late 80s and early 90s and really started transforming the way that people worked at a meaningful level. And the next major transformation was mobile, where people could take data, information, and work wherever they went. And now it's AI, like it's at that level. So I think the first thing that we should all get used to is AI is here. Gartner did a study in just a couple of years, 60% of all B2B selling teams will be leveraging AI. So the first message would be like where AI is today, it's not replacing people. What it's helping to do is to fill productivity gaps, fill some efficiency gaps, and really take some of the more routine or mundane tasks and providing some automation and intelligence to it. So we'll see that in research, customer research. We'll see that in communication. We'll see that in forecasting, personalization. We can see that in lead scoring, meeting assistance. So there's some real world applications where we can start to see some productivity lift from leveraging AI. The other thing that I would say is today, AI does its best work when it has some human involvement and human interaction. So for instance, we believe that AI gets you 70-75% of the way there, and you're going to want to be able to look at what it created, maybe put a little bit of touch on it before you move it forward. And it speaks to an overall trust that the different teams are starting to develop different levels of trust with the AI, the output. Number two, teams are learning how to work with the AI. And you can start like by giving different inputs and different models, you can get different outputs. And so teams are learning, I call it dancing with the AI, like how to work with it to get really good output. So I think those are like some big considerations now and like learning. And then lastly, like how do you integrate the AI into your workflow? So like it's one thing to go into chat and get a piece of content, but like how does it embed itself into your day-to-day workflow? So how are your reps, your customer success teams leveraging the AI in their workflow to make them more effective and more productive?
I love what you said, Matt. That's really. Oh, I'm sorry, Marie.
Go
I didn't
ahead.
mean to cut you off there. I just kind of wanted to ask, like, operationally, what tasks in a sales team or like within the sales process do you think are going to end up being automated, like within the next couple of years?
As a follow-on, I think anywhere where there's a lot of redundancy, a lot of repetitiveness, like the same task being utilized over and over, requiring massive amount of people hours and figuring something out. Because the AI just doesn't provide automation; it provides intelligence and then it provides insights. So it allows you to take this all the way through and be super useful. I think the big point here is that we used to be behavioral, or we used to sell based on habits and bias. like how Adriana trained me or Marie trained me or what I've seen. And, we kind of pass that on. And so habits, like what you choose to do, is based on like what you've done. And the big difference here, and it's been happening over the last close to a decade, is we've been able to start using insights and data to tell us what's best to do. Like we get insights and data off our CRM, we get insights and data off our sales engagement platform, we get insights and data off our call coaching platform. And now, like AI is providing insights and data in new areas. So, for instance, on the content side, like now we know whether our email content is good and whether or not it's resonating and how can we make it better. So what we're doing is we're expanding the ability to get insights off our actions and activities, understanding those dispositions even better, and allowing us to do better with what we have.
Yeah, 100%. The most simple and first AI people can leverage is automating the to-do list, right? You're having a conversation with a client. If you promise this client you will follow up by doing this and this, and you don't, first thing, like big seller mistake, you destroy trust, right? So AI makes it very easy to track this and making sure that you actually follow up. But as Matt was saying, it is still a people-to-people business, first and foremost. We spent the last few years adjusting sales into a numbers game, which there was so much goodness in that, right? But we kind of forgot it is still a people-to-people business. People don't buy from their website the way if you purchase a new solution for an enterprise, you want to talk to an expert. The problem is it's becoming more and more difficult to get buyer's time, right? We used to, when Matt and I started selling, we used to control 100% of the sales journey. We used to go to a restaurant, like taking the time to go to the golf course. The productivity we're forced now to deliver, we can't afford to spend this much time. And buyers don't want that anymore that much. So the little time we have with them, we have to absolutely nail it as seller, because you never know when is the next time you get that CEO or CRO or CIO on the phone. So AI now helps us optimize the little interactions we have with them to make sure we show up as experts, because now we have to. The let me get back to you doesn't work anymore when you manage to have an exec on a video call. And making sure that like you turn those tiny opportunities, like you treat them like as gold. And AI can help you that to make sure you're always showing up at your best, right? At the end of the day, we're only human, right? We sellers have to do so many things every single day. And there are days we're also tired. And I think that's why technology can be such a huge help, to advantage to like making sure every day and every interaction is optimized. Like, for example, our platform will tell you, the AI never gets tired, right? So it'll tell you when you talk to a client if they react positively or negatively to what you're saying, if you're losing your attention or not. The AI surfaces that, so you can like focus just on your pitch and get those alerts like, hey, you've been talking too much, like I have for the past few minutes. Now it's time to stop and give the microphone back to Adriana.
Okay, so that was so much awesome information. So it sounds like, we're seeing a lot of just automation of things like emails, like sequences, like follow up, to really just make your life as a sales rep a lot simpler, but to also make it easier to really spend the time that you're putting into the sales process, really making sure that it's spent connecting with the people that you're selling to. So I want to get to some things that are maybe not accurate about AI. So we'll start with Marie, but I definitely want to hear from both of you on this. So let's debunk a myth about AI in sales or in general. What is AI not? What's a common misconception? Let's chat about that.
I think we started to touch base on that. AI is not going to replace our jobs. I don't see it that way. It's going to help make us better and more efficient, but definitely not replace us. It just look at every single application AI is starting to help us on. It just enhances what we are doing. But I don't picture a CFO or a CRO just like signing a PO just by interacting with an avatar. And I did sell the metaverse, so trust me on that. But what do you think?
Big myth to bust is you can't trust the AI or the quality of the output. I'll come from a content perspective. If you go back just over a year, AI couldn't string a couple sentences together. Now it's writing blogs, it's writing papers, it's writing sequences, it's personalizing anything you want, and it's going to continue to accelerate as the data set gets bigger, the models get better. So, like a big one is, you could have used it a while back and not been impressed, but it's rapidly increasing the quality. And if we just go out just a little bit. And you follow the evolution of sales messaging, just as an example. When you started off earlier in your career, there was like one-to-many messaging. We relied heavily on marketing content, and there was this notion of one-to-many. When sales engagement first came out, it brought one-to-one messaging at scale. So you could do this one-to-one messaging, but the one-to-one messaging was heavily templated. So you all got the same one-to-one, but it was written in a one-to-one voice. But with AI today, we have a new capability where I can now do one-to-you messaging, one to you. So now I can speak to the individual prospect. That's because of AI, to be able to do that at scale. Sure, you could do that one-off, but to do it at any meaningful scale. So I think what we want to do is like understand that as things evolve and get better, trust the technology, trust the process, trust the output.
Yeah, I think you bring up a very good point. Like, most people think AI is only good at helping with automation because, as Matt said, until recently, we didn't foresee that AI could be this creative. Look at like the pieces of art AI can create now. Look at the essays AI can create. So we can really try. We're starting to see how the potential of AI, not just on the automation part, but on the creativity aspect, which really is going to help us personalize all the interaction we're going to have with clients. And
Yeah.
like also in terms of emotional intelligence, right, which is the most important skills a seller can have, how it can help us increase those skills.
Absolutely. I was definitely one of those people up until pretty recently, when people were sharing a lot more about like posts that were created by AI and stuff. I was like, I don't know, man, like the emails that I've seen that AI has made, they've been pretty sketchy, I'm not gonna lie. So it's like to see that development so quickly has been really interesting, especially like as someone who is in sales and has been in sales for a while.
Well, let
So
me
I
let me address that real quick. So a couple
yeah.
of things. Like part of what's driving the increase in quality, now we write all of our own custom models as an example. So
Mm,
Reggie knows that the people using our product are salespeople. So we have like this leaning posture. Reggie knows the difference between a follow-up email, an introduction email, a referral email, a breakup email. So what you're seeing are more sophisticated models, larger data sets. But just to give everyone some perspective, what we're going to start seeing over the next year is the accuracy and the quality of the AI will continue to get better. You'll start to see nuance of language, the ability to see localization and better translation. Input restrictions and latency start to go down. And the biggest thing that we'll start to see over the next year is reasoning. The AI will reason. So, for instance, if you were to ask the AI now, how many neighboring states does Massachusetts have? The AI could struggle with that because it has to know Massachusetts as a state. It would have to understand the borders, etc. In the not too distant future, you could ask the question, how many states have an odd number of neighboring states? Now what you're asking the AI to do is understand the states, what a neighboring state is, how many have odd states. So what's happening is like the AI is getting more intelligent, be able to do some reasoning. And when you put this all together and understanding, like, we're still very early in the industry, like there's some really exciting and very aggressive gains in quality of what we'll be experiencing. So it's not going anywhere. Sure, we all had an experience early on, but the fact that the AI did put an email together in and of itself was very impressive, and you'll continue to see improvements in different ways you can utilize this to drive your success, your productivity in your line of work.
Love that. I do kind of want to dive into something that you sort of started to get into a little bit earlier, which is like ethics and AI. It's like when we're talking about things, like AI having emotional intelligence and being able to reason. I know it's kind of easy to think like, okay, how much realistically, like, is AI going to be able to do? And this isn't something that I really know about at all, but in terms of like ethics in AI related to sales or just AI in general, like, can we talk about what concerns you guys typically hear from people? Kind of dive into that a little bit.
I think I've been hammered with ethics and privacy and security from my metaverse days, and that applies exactly to AI in the same way. Um, Ethical topics are extremely complex. It's not a yes or no kind of topic. Like the more you dig into it, the more you talk to experts, the more you realize how complex it is, because what's ethical for you might not be ethical for me, right? Is the best example is with the self-driving cars. If you have to choose between if you cannot avoid a collision and you have to choose between crashing into a baby and an elderly person, which one do you choose? Which solution is ethical, right? It's very complex to code
Yeah.
an AI to make the right decision. There's none, right? So for me, it's the way we have solved it within the metaverse and how we're solving it at Unifor is really about the intent. If your intent, if your final intention remains as ethical as possible, if the use case you're building your AI for is ethical, then you have enough guardrails to make sure your AI is coded properly. But it's very complex. I'm curious about your point of view, Matt.
That was a great answer, Marie. I think there's a few more things that I see, and maybe they're a little bit more pragmatic. Like for instance, like the uniqueness of the content that was generated. And like, so we have a plagiarism checker built into our platform to ensure that everything is unique, as an example. The next concern would be like, how do I know that my content's not going to look exactly like the next person's content? So, the way that we pull off data sets and have our models set up, like everything would be unique to the organization using it. But so I think there's the ethical, but there's also like these pragmatic concerns about the content or the output of the AI in terms of, with these broader concerns in mind. And I think, when you're working on certain solutions and certain partners or vendors, make sure that they've taken the right controls and considerations in addressing these questions.
So I think you may have just mentioned this a little bit, but in terms of like if a sales rep is sending out an email, like who does own that email? Do you get a lot of these questions, and how do sales teams like deal with that uncertainty?
Well, you own what you create. I mean, from an ownership perspective, I think the most important thing is the quality of the content going out on behalf of the brand. So if you take a look just at some of the big disconnects in organizations, you have product marketing and marketing teams that are providing content elements, and they oftentimes don't make their way into the sales communication, as an example. It's like there's like the connective tissue between what marketing is saying and wanting to be said at the sales level, like oftentimes there's a disconnect. So we built a process to connect those messaging elements, but translate them into a way where they're very effective in your sequencing or your cadencing, as an example. So I think dealing with these practical applications of like what's going on in an organization, what they care about like the messaging that's ultimately going out in front of their prospects and customers is highly reflective of the brand. And how do you capture the brand voice? How do you capture the brand messaging? And AI can help there. Like this is another one of those areas that AI can help as we ingest your brand voice into the overall messaging and ensure that as the messaging goes out, not only capturing the voice, but specific to the persona that you're talking to, the pain point or problem that you're solving for relevancy, and your value proposition to establish credibility. So create like richer messaging. In fact, if I just take this one step further, the question is, hey, like, does this replace people? Like, no, it actually makes your team more effective. So imagine that the messaging going out on behalf of your SDRs, BDRs, AEs, CSMs, account managers, whoever, now it's extremely relevant, highly contextual. The subject line isn't jargony. It's actually very contextual to what the email is about. Like now you're putting yourself forward in a way that's having you stand out. And even if that individual, may not be ready for your solution, your brand is protected because the content is great. And this can happen at scale where before, like the messaging going out, you didn't know who was putting it together. All the elements were there. You were talking too much about yourself. There were spam words. All of this gets filtered out of AI generated content today. So I would actually argue like to all of this is that when folks work hand in hand, arm in arm with the AI, dancing with it to get the best output, everybody wins.
I love the dancing with AI description. Like we at Uni4 use Matt's platform, Regi.ai, because like, as Matt said, it's all about cutting through the noise, right? These days, everybody send cold emails, everybody do cold callings. Like, how do you make sure your content, your interactions are personalized enough? And that's why Matt's platform helps us. And we do the same in live conversation.
Hey, there's a great question in chat when we get to it about accounting for bias.
Yes.
So I'd love to make sure we tag that one for the appropriate time.
Yeah, actually, Marie, I would love for you to dive into this. How do we account for bias in AI?
Yes, that's a very difficult topic. But the way we do is like, I think one approach people can take is like making sure people coding the AI we all have bias, right? You can't avoid it, but you need to put enough guardrails in the, I would say, engineering team. So like making sure you have diverse team. We all had the scandal when the first avatars couldn't recognize black people, right? Because all the engineers that were coding were white. It didn't occur to them that we had to take into account different skin colors. For AI, it's the same. You need to make sure engineering is diverse, just like ours is all over the world. We have like a very rich background of different culture, different like ethical background to make sure the AI is coded with more diversity. Because I don't think you can avoid bias. You can just making sure people are kept in check with different point of views. We also have an ethical board internally, like people meeting on a monthly basis to analyze that what we are developing remains in sync with our values and our ethics code. Matt, how do you do it?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good question. So first of all, the AI will do whatever you train it to do. Like that's really important to understand. And you can certainly not train in bias. But on the other side is we have built in a number of filters into what we generate. So you can actually look at, for instance, in the messaging, like you can look at the gender bias. Like, is there any gender bias in the language? We'll point out any overly masculine or feminine words or terminology. Like we don't use sports analogies in our output as an example, because it tends to be male biased. We're also looking at inclusionary language, and I think with the times, I think understanding and training the AI to be very balanced, very neutral in its posture, and then giving you a tool set to work within that to make sure that you can account for anything, not only from a bias perspective, but also, that you choose not to use. So having a very rich and robust editing opportunity in addition to the creation modes, really allows you to, build and then optimize the very best output.
So we actually got another question in the chat that says, with AI avatars with synthetic voiceover, how far are we from cold calling by AI SDRs? Emails are already done.
I'm curious, Matt. You're the expert in cold calling. What do you think?
So it's a really great question. So we can actually write today. So we could create a model and we could write, as a celebrity would write, or create specific brand elements. We're not doing that on voice yet. And I think this goes back to the ethics. I think what you'll find, we'll take the technology so far. We're not going to be impersonating individuals. But I will say, misuse the technology will be very powerful, and can certainly create some challenges. So I think, again, as the technology advances, the different companies out there that are leveraging this and building upon it, have to take really seriously the implications of what we're doing. But you can certainly create avatars. Personally, I don't see robots making phone calls. There's still a great human element that has to exist. And Marie said it, it's a people-to-people business. No one's looking to take away that. And at some point in the phone call, you want to have fun. The whole notion of a pattern interrupt, how can I just get someone to come out of their blocking zone, give me a quick smile, and then just have a great conversation. And I think for us to be able to have fun, find neutral ground very quickly, if my intent, and as an SDR is to help a CFO that's having a challenge and I'm very qualified to help them solve, we should both be mutually and equally excited about the conversation, because I can help and they need help and we're helping each other solve a problem. And that still is the fun part of work. When you take all the pressure of having to hit your number off, the best part is I'm actually connecting with someone and I'm able to help an organization solve a problem. And that's why most salespeople do what they do, because we help organizations win by helping them solve their toughest challenges. And I don't want to take that away from my SDR AE team, and I'm not looking for technology to do that for me.
So, I'm sorry, Marie, go ahead.
I do believe avatars have a place, have a role to play in sales. I've seen it already. Lots of my former clients used avatar to train sellers. So instead of doing a training through a PowerPoint or things like that, we were leveraging avatars to practice the pitch and have different scenarios. But it does take a lot of efforts. You need to put your knowledge into this avatar. You need to have all the different scenarios. Okay, if your seller says and pick this answer, then this is the path you have to go. So it takes a lot of efforts to put in place. I think we'll get better, but as Matt said, when it comes to real clients, people don't want to talk to a machine. They want to talk to a real human being because we're social beasts.
For sure. I don't even like talking to the machine at Comcast, when you call to update your bill. But so I know we've kind of touched on a few challenges about AI, more generally, but what challenges do you guys foresee about AI adoption, specifically in the sales department, with sales leadership, rolling out different tools, things like that?
So there's several, and there was a good question from Neil, who said right now in the sales community, there are a plethora of sales enablement. Everybody claims they do AI. But I think buyers are smarter than that, right? Once you have a hot buzzword, everybody's starting using. We had IoT, we had metaverse, we had once you have the future of work, that was my favorite. Everybody was doing the future of work for 4 or 5 years. But so now it's AI. I think buyers are smart enough to see what it's really AI and what just use as a marketing tool. Just look at what can have the biggest impact in your activities and in your KPIs. Uh, we have so many tools available to us now as sellers. I think the minimum number of tools a seller uses now is like 6 to 10, which is insane, right? And this creates a fatigue of nobody wants to add another tool unless it brings proper value and makes the life of sellers easier. So I think do your research. Don't talk to Avatar, talk to us. We can help making actually this work easier.
Yeah, I also think there's an opportunity for consolidation and compression, and I'm going to take that. Neil, that's what Neil meant. So, one of the things that we've done at Reggie is we've taken more of an enterprise-wide approach to content generation on one platform. So we have a Chrome extension for the SDR, AE, success. We have a content generation platform for your content committee, content operating model, your marketers. Realizing, especially with these economic times, that companies are looking to do more with less. They're consolidating, compressing their tool stack. And we've taken that approach with Reggie to provide as many of the content generation and personalization features needed, and just putting them on one platform and helping teams consolidate. Because I do agree. At the same time, AI will be making its way into some of the platforms and tools you've already invested in, and there will be new elements coming in as old ones leave. So but overall, I completely support the compression and the consolidation of the tool stack and getting it in a great way where you're providing what your teams need to win in today's age of modern selling.
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, I love what you just posted, Adriana. You surfaced the question from Mike on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to bring up.
Look, I wish AI could do my job all day long. I think we could all sign up for it, right? This is not possible. AI, because we are forced to do way more with much less, that's why we have to turn to technologies to help us, right? Look at the trend. Year after year, we just ask to book more and spend less. That's the one trend that will never go away. So AI is one way, one tool we have now available to us to be more performant. But no, unfortunately, the lazy days for sellers is not on the horizon, more the opposite. And related to the emotion is the opposite. We do sell emotional intelligence. That's our daily conversations. And that's the silver lining, I would say, about COVID. Is we've all based all business, ROI, and all the conversation on IQ. And now, finally, thanks to COVID, we realized emotional intelligence was a core business skills everybody required. We used to guess that, right? The most successful people at work were the ones capable of creating these connections, whether internally, mainly externally for sellers. But it was the soft skills, which I hate this now. Because it just put IQ as the core skill and EQ as okay, the side I think you have or you don't have. And look at our schools. Our system is built to teach IQ, and you just hope that your kids have EQ or not, and maybe through life they will kind of develop that. And I think it's a wrong concept. Sellers need to have EQ. If you don't show empathy, if you don't build trust with your buyer, you're done. And that's why AI, as of now, cannot replace our jobs. And I think now all the leaders understand they need to implement EQ in all parts of their businesses. Everybody understands that, but people still have a hard time implementing it because it is hard to associate a concrete ROI, a dollar amount, to EQ. IQ, it's easy. But that's why AI helps us these days. It's okay, you improve your EQ skills, this is how much more your close win ratio is going to increase. This is how much more revenues you're going to book. And I think we're just at the beginning of this transformation where EQ will have a proper place in a business conversation.
And to the question, will AI make us lazy? Heck no. First of all, like, think of it this way, like AI frees you up from the mundane to actually do the part of the job you love, like more engagement, more phone calls, more connections. And using the AI is magical. Like, it is actually fun to use it. Like, no one loves using their CRM, but like, it is a blast, like generating personalized content that you can use to connect with Marie. Like, it's because it allows me to do the part of the job I love to do. So like, AI liberates you to do what you want to do. It will not make us lazy unless you want to be lazy. That's a separate issue. But like, it will free you up to do the part of the job you love, and it's the highest value interactions of you connecting with another human being.
Awesome. So now that we've established that AI is not going to make us lazy, or it's a personal problem. Okay, so I do want to get into actually like the implementation of AI, like in a sales team or in the sales process. So, what's like the biggest mistakes that you two see from people trying to use AI in their sales process? Whether that's like to help them with emails or to just try to make their reps more efficient. Can we talk about that?
I can start if you want, Matt. To me, it's like pick a use case, pick a specific application that's relevant to you and could make your life easier. And then use AI like to test how that impacts your own business. That's the most simple, straightforward advice I could give. If like the introduction of every new technology, if you try to like going broad and thinking it's going to solve everything, it's not efficient. Just pick one and see how that works, and then you expand. Does that work for you, Matt?
Yeah, I thought that was great. I'll add a different one. So I think like a mistake people make is like just trying it once and using what they get, and not like really understanding like how important what you're telling it or asking it to do is in terms of what you're getting on the outside. So test around with it, try different approaches, try different angles, and not just like try something once and either like or not like the output. A lot of times, people aren't like always impressed with what they get out, but then you look at what they asked it to do and it wasn't necessarily what they wanted. So again, like the AI is a model. It will do what you ask it to do. So be as precise as you can, and then you'll love what you're getting even more. But the more again, dancing with the AI, the more you can dance with the AI on the front end, the greater the output that comes back to you.
So we actually got another question on LinkedIn. I'm going to read it over here because it's kind of long. So Marina asks, what are your thoughts around the recent Times article? OpenAI used Kenyan workers on less than $2 an hour to make ChatGPT less toxic. She says this is an important matter when we speak about the ethics of AI, as many of these data labelers were or are a part of the global south. The article says the working conditions of data labelers reveal a darker part of that picture, that for all its glamour, AI often relies on hidden human labor in the global south that can often be damaging and exploitative. These invisible workers remain on the margins, even as their work contributes to billion-dollar industries. As adopters of these powerful tools in our industries, I believe it's important we bring visibility to these issues and work to uplift the conditions for all people who contribute to this technology. If you guys had seen that article or had any thoughts around that.
Excellent question.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I think it's an excellent question, and I think that this will have to come to the surface, like any industry where workers aren't treated right in terms of conditions. So I'm not familiar enough with this to speak about it, other than to say it'll need to be addressed. I think there is another side of the point, not to minimize the point that was made, is that there are people behind the AI that do the training, ultimately of the models generated. I did not read that article, but I will read it based on that question.
Yeah, I will pop the link into EARME as well. Marina did post it on LinkedIn, but I thought this was interesting. I actually hadn't heard of that. Marie, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's common in everything, right? You have good people, you have bad people who exploit others. I'm a big advocate for transparency. Whatever solution you pick, do your research, ask the questions, see who's behind it, what are the ethics behind the company you pick. So that's the only way you can help. If nobody gives business to those awful people, then they won't survive. So that's the only way we can influence that, and by surfacing like this person did, so it brings more visibility to those important topics.
So we have one more question that came in on LinkedIn a minute ago, which is there a risk to authenticity by leveraging AI's capability to generate cold emails? I think we touched on this a little bit earlier, but just wanted to kind of circle back.
There's always a risk depending on what product you're using. Again, we use plagiarism checkers. We don't use templates, the data sets that we pull from, and the inputs that you're doing. So the authenticity is there, like the more that you think through what you're looking to get. And then there's always the opportunity to personalize what you've built, and you can hyper personalize it as well. So I think, sure, if you want to take a shortcut and you just want to rely on some low-level AI to create a very generic or templated email, sure, it can be extremely inauthentic and crappy. Or you can, use a great platform to generate it with the capability to, make it as rich as you want. These are decisions we're going to have to make. So there's always risk. But I think overall, it's a choice that we'll make as opposed to a byproduct of the technology.
Yeah, and as seller, our reputation is extremely important. The B2B sales world is a small world. You burn your reputation, it's game over, right? So I think every experienced seller know how to trade carefully and making sure that if you burn those bridges, you won't recover them. So that's why everybody has to be mindful in all those interactions, whether like cold emails or video calling. You have to make sure that you protect your personal brand because it takes a long time to build a good one, and it takes just one by choice to burn it. So
Absolutely.
Great point, Marie.
So I do want to get into what excites you guys the most about the future of AI, about the future of AI in sales. Marie, we can start with you on that.
yeah, I'm so excited by it because I can see all the possibilities that are starting to open for us. I mean, Matt described at length how AI can help with content. We use AI to help with EQ and setup, and it's just the beginning. Like, I think it's an exciting time to be in B2B sales because we're just at the beginning of this curve, and we're going to see so many countless opportunities that make that job exciting, right? Because B2B sales has been quite the same for a long time. You take your course, you try to book and every quarter you're asked to book more with less. So having those technology innovation keeps us on our toes. It challenges us to be more creative, to do things differently. So I personally couldn't be more excited about the future.
Here to that. That's great. There's a couple things to be excited about. One, like the AI is going to continue to get better and better and better, which is awesome. And then, like, there's organizations that are getting like super creative and innovative of how to integrate the AI, into different parts of the workflow and support different elements of organizations. And I think when we look at great AI helping people be more productive, more effective, more successful, that's exciting. If you look at the stats, every year, like 50% of sales reps don't make their number. And as sales leaders, like that's tough. Like people entrust us to help them win. And when there's new technology that helps us be more effective and more productive, more efficient, we should bring that in for our organizations and provide the promise of winning. So I'm all about smart technology and a great application that fits into my workflow that helps my teams win more.
Amen.
For sure. So we only have a couple of minutes left here. So let's answer a few fun questions. Would love to know just a little bit more about okay, besides being amazing salespeople, AI experts, what kinds of things do you guys like to do for fun outside of work? Tell us about that.
I can go. So I'm a roller coaster junkie. I love great roller coasters. I love driving fast. Let me see what the AI tells me to say. Hold on a minute.
Oh my gosh.
No. I'm a thrill seeker. Like to stay moving, have fun. I like to interject fun into work, interject fun into my customer interactions. Because when you're having fun, it really isn't work anymore. Like you love what you're doing, you love who you're doing it with. And I just think, bringing that attitude into your work environment makes it even like the time we just spent together here just flew. It's been just a lot of fun spending some time with you. And so for me, it's just like bringing fun into my day and going fast.
Awesome. What about you, Marie?
I'm French, so I love good wine and I love good food. And I'm a seller, so I'm very social. So for me, it's all about spending time with friends, and I cook a lot for them. They cook a lot for me, so we do a lot of that, unfortunately. So to make up for all the eating and the wine, then I have to exercise. So I run. I'm a big skier, but knee injury stopped that for a year. So I'm running, doing some. I run after my kids a lot, so it keeps me on my toes. Yeah. How
That's
about you,
awesome.
Adriana?
Oh my gosh. I mean, so I have 2 dogs. Actually, I have 3 dogs now. We just adopted another one. So all of the dog things. I also love to cook. I can't drink wine because it gives me headaches, but I do love it. Sometimes I just accept my fate. But yeah, love to cook and bake, and just spend time outside for sure. We did get one last question for Matt in the chat, actually, which was, "What's next for Reggie? Which frontier?"
Oh, I wish I could tell you all. We're actually in a 5-day offsite right now, mapping that out. So I would say stay tuned. Great question. But I will say this, we're trying to think through all the different workflows, all the place that content is needed at scale, and how we can help continue and support that. If you've got any great ideas, please DM me on LinkedIn. Love ideas, love to hear what you're thinking about, what you'd like to see. Otherwise, I really can't say too much right now.
Awesome.
Neil, you're gonna have to sign an NDA first.
Well, where can people find both of you? Let's start with you, Marie. If they want to reach out, is there anything that they should know about you or your company? If they have questions on AI or sales in general, should they DM you? Tell us about
Yes,
that.
more than happy to. You can find me on LinkedIn, Marie Brunet. Our website is Unifor. Our product is called Q4 Sales. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Anything, any AI question in general, any things for emotional intelligence, or please don't hesitate. I'll be more than happy to.
Awesome. And Matt, you mentioned people being able to DM you on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Matt Millen on LinkedIn. I love to talk shop. Love it. So happy to talk about all things sales anytime, and would love to connect with each and every one of you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. Have loved this conversation. I've learned so much. I'm sure everyone else has too. If you were watching today, thank you also so much for being here. If you're not already a member of RevGenius, check us out online. We are a community of 30,000 people in sales, marketing, RevOps, and success. And we have free events pretty much every week. So if you would like to check out what is coming up, go to revgenius.com/events. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Cheers.
all.